On the bank of an African river lies a Nile crocodile, 4 meters long, 600 kilograms. Walking across its back is a bird the size of a pigeon. The crocodile doesn't touch it. The Egyptian plover, a bird that Herodotus wrote about 5 centuries before our era. A bird that buries its chicks alive in hot sand. A bird that turns the most dangerous predator on the river into a guard for its own nest. In the next 20 minutes, you'll learn how it does this.
Animals Prime.
And why the real story is more interesting than the legend. Because in it there is no friendship, only precise calculation. Pluvianus aegyptius, a small bird, slightly larger than a starling, gray-brown back, brick-red chest, a black stripe across the eye like a mask. It weighs around 75 grams. Old books called it the crocodile bird, and here is why. The plover almost never flies. It spends most of its life running along the ground on the banks of large African rivers, the Nile, Congo, Zambezi, Niger. Its bill is straight and sharp, a general-purpose tool. It catches insects, worms, small crustaceans. Sometimes it scavenges scraps left by larger predators. When a threat appears, it doesn't take to the air. It runs sideways along the bank, fast. Its ground speed is remarkable, which is exactly why it rarely needs to fly at all. Its call is sharp and unpleasant, audible 100 meters away, even near rushing water. It lives in pairs, is highly territorial, and makes that clear immediately. There is more purpose in that call than it seems. It triggers a reaction in neighboring birds before they have spotted the threat themselves. One plover gives the alarm, the entire bank starts moving. At the start of the dry season, a pair of plovers chooses a spot on an open riverbank. Not in bushes, not in reeds. Open sand, completely exposed. This seems reckless until you understand the logic. Male and female scrape a shallow hollow together using their feet. No lining, no twigs or grass. Just a depression in the hot river sand, 5 centimeters deep. From a distance, it looks like a random dent in the ground. That is exactly the point. The female lays her eggs, 2, sometimes 3. Laying happens 1 egg per day. By the 3rd day, the clutch is complete. The eggs are gray-brown with dark speckles. On river sand, they are nearly impossible to spot, not by accident. Millions of years of selection have made the egg coloring almost indistinguishable from the color of the sandy bank. At half a meter away, they are already gone. A predator runs past within a meter and sees only sand. Once the clutch is ready, the parents do something unusual. They bury the eggs, completely. They push dry sand over the clutch until the eggs disappear. The bank surface looks perfectly flat. A monitor lizard, a jackal, a crow, predators that search for bird nests, simply see nothing there. For them, this is just another stretch of bank. But how do the eggs not suffocate? That is the first question. Sand is porous. Oxygen passes through it. The temperature of coastal sand near water is relatively stable, significantly lower than in open desert. The eggs receive warmth from the sand and from the parents, who take turns sitting on top of the buried clutch, warming it with their body heat. This is where it gets truly extraordinary. At the peak of the dry season, air temperature on African riverbanks reaches 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. Sand surface temperature, over 50. For the eggs, that is lethal. 1 hour is enough. The parent does the following. It flies to the water, wades in up to its belly. The breast feathers become saturated and hold the water like a sponge. The bird walks back to the nest and lies flat on top of the buried clutch. The evaporation of moisture cools the sand and the eggs beneath it. This is called belly-soaking behavior. Fewer than 10 bird species in Africa practice it. The Egyptian plover does this several times a day for 28 to 32 days of incubation. 30 days, multiple trips a day, under a 40-degree sun. This isn't instinct in an abstract sense. It is daily labor. After 28 to 32 days, the shells begin to crack from inside. The chicks emerge with their eyes open, covered in short gray-brown down, almost the same color as river sand. Within a few hours of hatching, they are already standing. Within a few hours, they follow the parent. These are precocial birds. They don't need the nest from day one. The first week is the most dangerous. They are too small, too slow, too noisy. Any predator that finds them will take them easily. Now for the part that surprises most people. When a predator approaches the brood, the parent does not shield the chicks with its body, does not attack the threat, does not lead the chicks away at a run. It buries them. It takes a chick with its bill and feet, places it in a hollow in the sand, and covers it from above. The head protrudes. The chick breathes. The body is hidden under sand. The surface, flat, smooth. The predator passes within 2 meters, sees only sand. While the chicks lie in the ground, both parents work. They call loudly and sharply. They run circles around the predator. They fake injury, dragging a wing, leading the threat sideways. When there is enough distance, they fly back to the chicks. The chick does not move and makes no sound. Instinctively, from the first hour of life, not because it can endure, the instinct simply suppresses distress signals while the threat is close. Predators find chicks through movement and sound. Remove both and you become invisible. The Egyptian plover nests on the same banks where Nile crocodiles rest, and that is not a coincidence. Mongooses, monitor lizards, jackals, all of them avoid approaching a large reptile. A nest 15 to 20 meters from a crocodile is better protected than anywhere else on the bank. The plover also uses the crocodile as a food source. It walks along the reptile's back and collects insects and ticks from the skin between the scales. The crocodile doesn't mind, and possibly benefits. Parasites between scales cause discomfort. And third, when the crocodile suddenly moves into the water, danger is nearby. The plover reacts immediately before it has spotted the threat itself. The behavior of one animal becomes an early warning system for the other. This is not friendship. The crocodile has no idea it is guarding anyone's nest. The plover feels no gratitude toward the reptile. The crocodile is a tool. The plover simply learned to use it in 3 different ways simultaneously. Herodotus wrote about this in the 5th century BCE. A small bird enters the open mouth of a crocodile and cleans food scraps from between its teeth. The crocodile lies motionless. The bird exits. The crocodile closes its jaws. This story traveled from book to book for 2,500 years. In the 20th century, biologists began testing it. Result? Not a single verified video recording, not a single confirmed photograph of an Egyptian plover inside a crocodile's mouth. Cases described by eyewitnesses either couldn't be verified or involved other bird species entirely. This doesn't mean the plover and the crocodile are unconnected. They are connected, just differently. Feeding from the skin, nest protection, signal post, all of that is real and documented. But regular tooth cleaning is most likely a beautiful myth, one that survived 25 centuries because partnerships of this type genuinely exist in nature and the template is plausible. April, the bank of the Zambezi, 38 degrees Celsius, 3 eggs under a layer of sand. 15 meters away, a Nile crocodile, 4 meters long. A Nile monitor lizard approaches. Pluvianus niloticus, 2 meters long. A specialist in finding bird clutches. It locates them by scent, even under a layer of soil. Camouflage won't fool it. Burial won't fool it. The female plover rises and calls. The male launches from a rock 30 meters away. Both birds circle the monitor, calling continuously. They don't attack, but they create maximum noise. The crocodile lifts its head. Slowly, heavily, eyes opening fully. The monitor looks at the crocodile. 3 seconds. The tongue stops flickering. Then it turns and walks away. unhurried, but it walks away. The plover did not defeat the monitor. The plover got the crocodile's attention. The crocodile did the rest, simply by existing in that place. That is why the plover nests beside the reptile, not for tooth scraps, for this moment, for those 3 seconds. 75 grams of bird directing the behavior of a 2-meter monitor through a 4-meter crocodile. That is the strategy. The chicks grow fast. Within 2 to 3 weeks, they are actively exploring the bank independently. They run across wet sand, probe it with their bills, react to the parents' calls. But the parents are still close, guarding, warming them at night, showing where to find food. Young plovers learn through following. They go where the parent goes. They probe where the parent probes. They freeze when the parent freezes. They call when the parent calls. Within a few weeks, the chick can do everything the parent can, including belly soaking, burying eggs, and injury simulation. No one explained the sequence. No lessons were given. This is not learning in the usual sense. It is the transfer of instincts through imitation, and it has worked for millions of years without a single change. Each new generation receives the complete toolkit through the first 8 weeks of life spent beside the parent. By 6 weeks, the chicks are nearly independent. By 8 weeks, the pair is often already preparing the next clutch. In one dry season, the Egyptian plover can raise 2 broods. Not one large clutch per year, several smaller ones, each with high survival rates. The Egyptian plover is found throughout tropical Africa, from Senegal in the west to Ethiopia in the east, from the Nile in the north to Zambia in the south, wherever there are large, slow rivers with open sandy banks. The plover moves with the water. In the dry season, rivers drop, banks expand, the plover is there. In the rainy season, water rises, banks disappear, the plover retreats upstream. It is not attached to a specific location. It is attached to a type of habitat. It needs open, hot sand near water, and ideally a crocodile somewhere nearby. Active during the day, at night it sits motionless, pressed against the ground. In darkness, it is vulnerable, and every nocturnal predator knows this. That is exactly why the plover reacts so loudly to any daytime threat, compensating for nighttime helplessness with daytime vigilance. The Egyptian plover has 3 main defensive strategies. First, noise. At any threat, the plover calls immediately, sharp, loud, continuous. Neighboring birds react. The entire bank starts moving, making it harder for the predator to act without being seen. Second, injury simulation. The plover moves away from the nest, drags one wing along the ground, leads the predator sideways. Most ground predators follow prey that looks easy to catch. When there is enough distance, the bird takes off and returns. The predator finds nothing. Third, concealment through burial. Eggs first, then chicks. Against predators that search by sight or scent, a chick buried under flat sand is practically invisible. 3 strategies, each matched to a different type of threat. Together, they cover almost every attack scenario. The plover is not the only bird that learned to use a large animal as a tool. The red-billed oxpecker, Bufagus africanus, lives on buffaloes, giraffes, rhinos, actually cleans their skin of ticks. The bird gets food, the animal loses parasites. Sometimes the oxpecker warns its host of an approaching predator. Genuine symbiosis. The cattle egret, Bubolcus ibis, follows elephants and buffaloes, doesn't clean them, just catches the insects their feet stir up. One-sided exploitation. The elephant neither knows nor cares. The greater honey guide, indicator, leads honey badgers and humans to bee nests. Can't open them itself, it only knows where they are. One of the most remarkable cooperative relationships in nature. In all of these cases, one principle. The bird uses a larger creature as a tool to access resources it couldn't reach on its own. Not friendship, evolutionary strategy. The same banks are home to an entire community of birds. Each has claimed its niche. Each eats something different. No one interferes with anyone else. The giant kingfisher, Megaceral maxima, the largest kingfisher in Africa, sits above the water and strikes fish. No overlap with the plover, which doesn't eat fish. The African darter, Unhinga rufa, dives for fish, then dries its wings in the sun. Lives near crocodiles just as calmly, but unlike the plover, simply coexists rather than uses. Sandpipers, stilts, common sandpipers, all feeding at the water's edge, each nesting in its own niche. The plover occupies a unique position among them, the only one that not only tolerates the crocodile's presence, but actively exploits it. And this is what makes its story unlike any other. The plover is not on red lists. Its population is broadly stable, but threats exist. The main one, loss of banks. Dams on Africa's rivers regulate water levels and eliminate the natural floods that create open sandy banks. Without floods, no banks form. Without banks, no nests. Without nests, no chicks. Human disturbance on the banks. Where rivers have become tourist corridors or sand extraction sites, plovers disappear. They need quiet, open sand, nothing more and nothing less. And that is precisely what is disappearing. Declining Nile crocodile populations in some regions. Where crocodiles are fewer, the plover loses both its protection and its food source at once. The plover holds on for now, but Africa's rivers are changing faster than evolution can adapt the bird to new conditions. A strategy that worked for millions of years requires one thing, that the bank remains a bank. The Egyptian plover is the only member of the genus Pluvianus. The plover family it belongs to includes over 60 species worldwide. Some of them also nest on open banks. Some also practice nest concealment. But belly-soaking behavior and the practice of bearing live chicks, these belong to the Egyptian plover alone. Nothing like it exists among its closest relatives. This is one of the most specialized nesting behaviors of any bird in the world, and it emerged not just anywhere, but on riverbanks beside crocodiles. It is difficult to say which came first, the strategy of nesting near the reptile or the belly-soaking behavior. Most likely they developed together. Back to Herodotus. A sharp and observant man recorded a story that science could not confirm. Why? Version 1. He heard it from local people. They saw the bird walking near a crocodile with its mouth open and invented an explanation that seemed logical. Version 2. They were watching a different bird. Several species in Africa do occasionally enter a crocodile's mouth to snatch food scraps. Not the plover, others. Version 3. It happened, but very rarely. Not as regular behavior, as a single episode that someone witnessed and remembered. None of these versions changes the main point. The story survived 2,500 years because it is beautiful and plausible. The plover is connected to the crocodile, just not the way Herodotus described. And that connection may be older than Egypt itself. The Egyptian plover, a small bird with a large reputation. A bird that appears in texts written 2,000 years ago. A bird that biologists still argue about. Part of that reputation is legend, but beneath the legend is a real story. A bird that learned to turn the most dangerous predator on the river into a guard for its eggs. That carries water in its feathers to cool a clutch in 50-degree heat. That buries its living chicks in hot sand and they stay silent. Without claws, without venom, without size. Only strategy. Only an understanding of how its environment works. The Nile crocodile still lies on the banks of African rivers. The Egyptian plover still walks beside it. The alliance is millions of years old. If this changed something in the way you look at small birds, leave a like. Subscribe so you don't miss the next survival story. And one last question. Where does this human need come from? To see friendship where nature only sees calculation. Is what the plover and crocodile have a symbiosis? or just convenience? Write it in the comments.